That sword was used to capture Santa Ana.
That's amazing.
Howdy, and welcome to the Texas Bucket List. My name is Shane McAuliffe, and you know, all of us Texans, we are very proud of the history of our great state. 1836? That's a year we all know by heart. But the time leading up to that point in Texas history is a long story that starts all the way back in the 1500s. Fortunately, there's a magnificent museum in Galveston that tells that history, and it's all led by a Texan with some deep roots in our state. Back in 2017, we first met J.P. Bryan at his Gage Hotel in Marathon.
Well, it's close to heaven as you can get and still be in Texas.
His passion for Texas history and culture is inspiring, and that led him to another venture on the opposite end of our state. Down on Galveston Island, JP has doubled down on his devotion with a museum filled with artifacts about the story of Texas and how the West was settled.
A historical adventure that's not matched by any other in world history.
JP has a unique connection to Texas history. His family has been a part of it since the beginning. His great-great-great-grandfather was Moses Austin, the father of Texas, Stephen F. Austin. JP's great-great-grandmother was Stephen F. Austin's sister, Emily Austin Perry.
We as a family have always said collectively, look, it's nice to have a connection to Stephen F. Austin or whomever, or if you're related to Sam Houston, but what's that say about you? Nothing, except you're related to him. It says something about him, but what are you going to do to uphold his sacrifice or his contribution?
JP has done that by opening a museum with over 70,000 pieces paramount to Texas history.
These artifacts were all part of people's lives. In some way or the other, either the maker or the user was expressing something important through these items. So they're much more than just a collection of artifacts.
The Bryan Museum was established in 2015 and is housed in an old orphanage built in 1895. Walking around the hollowed halls of history, you'll find pieces of Texas's past that will blow your mind.
All of these things are land contracts for the most part. That's a picture of Sam Houston painted in New Orleans. It's on ivory. This is how they financed the Texas Revolution, and for whatever it's worth, you'll never see these documents anyplace again because this is the only place where all of them exist. We were intrigued with the idea of having the artifacts and the collection become part of a museum, not just because we wanted to put another museum on the landscape, but because we really had a passion to try to invoke a sentiment that we think is rapidly diminishing about the importance of history in our educational system. And to ignore history, we do so, we think, with great jeopardy. That sword was used to capture Santa Ana.
That's amazing.
Bryan knows about every object in the museum. He started collecting things as a boy and has had a hand in acquiring just about every single piece.
In every room I go, there's a piece in there that I really, truly am fascinated with because I know it's history. And it sort of sits there in silent repose, but it speaks to me as to what its past was. That's a very, very rare piece right up there. That's Santa Ana's letter from the battlefield at San Jacinto telling Phyllis to retreat from Mexico.
Wow, that's something else.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this place. Every little corner has mind-boggling Texas history.
Yeah, I'm not even getting into a whole bunch of other stuff.
While Texas history takes up a vast amount of the 30,000 square foot museum, the story all starts with the Spanish exploration of the Gulf Coast and western parts of the United States.
When you think about it, a large measure of our history is Spanish, and they dominated the landscape in the geography here for a period of 300 years.
Rare firearms, you'll find them here.
That pistol, second one down, a Colt revolver, that's serial number 2. It's one of the rarest Colts in private hands. And because they only, not only is it serial number 2, they only made 2.
Wow. And even a few tales from the Wild West.
These are the good boys and the bad boys, so to speak. These are Texas Rangers for most part, or sheriffs, or bandits. That's John Wesley Hardin, who was the most notorious guy probably of all. That's his Colt Lightning. And then that's the gun that killed him right there.
These unreal stories of gunslingers and explorers is all part of the American West, what it took to settle it, and for JP, it proves the founding fathers created something to behold.
The history that was shaped on this landscape is like none other than the world. The West proved that the Constitution could travel, that those laws and that system of liberty and freedom could go anywhere in the world. We were made great not as a nation because we were just lucky. I mean, we had people thoughtfully create a whole environment in which freedom was at its core. We are gradually giving that freedom away, and we're ignoring the sacrifice and responsibility that has to come with freedom. But if we're looking for inspiration and guidance into how we should conduct our lives, history's full of people who have done marvelous things and should inspire us.